Same word, different worlds. One dragon burns the land, the other calls the rain. Most people explain this in the laziest way possible. They say Western dragons are evil and Eastern dragons are good. But that is not really the point. The real answer is stranger than that, because in both East and West, dragons did not come from one single source. They came from different fears, different symbols, and different roots into myth. And once you see those roots, the split between fire and rain starts to make sense. Welcome to Eastern and Western Legends. Here, we explore together the most mysterious myths, legends, and epic stories from both East and West. In the East, one powerful route into dragonhood begins in water. The Chinese dragon was deeply tied to rivers, storms, clouds, and especially rain. It was not just a monster living near water, it became part of the logic of water itself. That matters because in an agricultural civilization, rain is not decoration. Rain is survival. No rain means dead crops. Dead crops mean hunger. Hunger means collapse. So the creature powerful enough to command rain could never be imagined as just a beast. It had to become something larger, something sacred, something closer to heaven. That is why Eastern dragons often feel less like monsters and more like living weather. But that is only one route, because Chinese tradition also gives us another famous path to becoming a dragon: transformation. The most famous version is the story of the carp leaping the dragon gate. A carp struggles upstream, fights the current, survives the climb, and if it succeeds, it transforms into a dragon. That story became a symbol of ambition, endurance, and rising into a higher form of power. And that changes how Eastern dragonhood feels, because now the dragon is not only something ancient and natural, it can also be something achieved. A lesser creature can become dragon-like by surviving pressure, overcoming force, and rising. So in the East, dragonhood can come from at least two powerful directions. One is elemental: water, cloud, rain, and storm. The other is transformational: ascent, struggle, and becoming something greater. And both routes point upward, toward the sky, toward power, toward life. That is why even when Eastern dragons are dangerous, they usually do not feel evil in the Western sense. They can flood fields, they can unleash storms, they can destroy villages. But when they destroy, they often feel less like demons and more like natural catastrophe. You do not look at them and think, "This is Satan." You look at them and think, "This is what happens when nature becomes divine." Now let us cross to the West. Western dragons also come from more than one root. One old root is serpentine. In many ancient traditions, the dragon begins very close to the giant serpent, the chaos serpent, the monster at the edge of the world. That is important because it means the Western dragon did not begin only as a flying fire beast. It also emerged out of the ancient fear of vast, unnatural, serpent-like power. Something cold, something coiled, something ancient. But then there is another root, a much darker one, the root of corruption. Fafnir is one of the clearest examples. He was not born a dragon, he became one. He murdered his father for cursed treasure, and then transformed into a dragon to guard the gold. That changes the meaning of dragonhood completely, because now the dragon is not just a beast in the wilderness, it is greed made flesh. It is what happens when desire becomes inhuman. The dragon is no longer only a monster from outside society. It becomes a warning about what a person can become from inside it. And that is one of the strongest Western dragon patterns. The dragon as corrupted appetite. The dragon as greed with scales. But the Western dragon becomes even darker once Christianity reshapes the image. Christianity did not invent dragons, but it gave them a far more theological role. Now the dragon could merge with the ancient serpent, with Satan, with hell, with apocalyptic evil. Once that happens, fire stops being just a weapon. It becomes symbolism, hellfire, punishment, corruption, infernal power. So the Western dragon is pulled in a very different direction from the Eastern one. Its strongest roots lead toward chaos, greed, and damnation. And that is why fire makes sense, because fire is not just destructive, it is morally loaded. It burns the world, It purifies through pain. It feels like judgment. So if the Eastern dragon is the force of rain, the Western dragon becomes the force of burning. And now the split becomes clear. The Eastern dragon rises from water, storm, heaven, and transformation. The Western dragon hardens through serpent chaos, greed, and hellfire. One is tied to the cycle that keeps the world alive. The other is tied to the force that threatens to consume it. That is why Eastern dragons bring rain. Not because they are simply kind, but because one of their deepest symbolic homes is in rivers, clouds, storms, fertility, and heaven. And that is why Western dragons breathe fire, not because they are just bad, but because the strongest Western roots turned them into symbols of corrupted appetite, destruction, and infernal danger. So the real difference was never just good versus evil. It was about what each world feared most. In the East, dragon power often belonged inside the order of life. Dangerous, yes, but still tied to rain, rivers, heaven, and transformation. In the West, dragon power often stood against order, greedy, destructive, hellish, something heroes and saints had to confront. One rises through the dragon gate, the other curls around cursed gold. One commands the clouds, the other breathes hellfire. Same word, different roots, different fears, different worlds. So which version of the dragon do you find more terrifying? The one that controls rain, or the one that breathes fire? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoy mythology, dragons, gods, monsters, and the darker meanings hidden behind ancient legends, subscribe to the channel, because this is exactly the kind of story we explore here.